Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ozy and today we're going to talk all about petition letters. Now this is going to be a huge one, all right? I get a lot of emails from you guys asking about petition letters and today we're going to talk all about it. But first, if this is your first time on this channel, this is a channel created to share experiences on how you can self-petition for a US green card based on merit. Yes, through the EB2NIW category. No need for sponsors, no need for lawyers. You can get all the information on this channel. So if you would really love to get that information, go ahead and subscribe right now, give it a thumbs up, and we're going to go right into it. All right. So a petition letter is sometimes called a cover letter, but really it's a letter that you write to USCIS accompanying your application, right? And in that letter, you're telling the USCIS officer why you qualify to be granted a green card under the EB2NIW category. Now, arguably, this is the most important part of your application. I mean, next to filling out the forms, a lot of people think that this part of the application is really crucial, right? And so I'm going to break it down to you what should be in the letter, how long it should be, and what you should really be talking about in the petition letter or in the cover letter, all right? If I were to break down the petition letter into 5 parts, I would say it is presenting a strong argument, having a table of content, of course, putting in quotations from your recommenders or your references, a lot about your evidence, right? Why you qualified. And then last but not the least is your presentation. How is this organized? You really want it to flow in such a way that anyone reading this letter would know that you qualified, right? The reason we are writing this letter is because you're not going to be physically there when your application gets there for the first time, right? So you want the USCIS officer to be kind of guided through your application, introducing yourself. This is who I am. This is why I qualify. These are the rules or these are the requirements for EB2NIW. And this is why I qualify. That's really what this petition letter does, all right? The presentation matters, all right? I usually encourage people to put a table of content in there, all right? Just guide them, right? What is on page 10? What is on page 20? Where do you have the advanced degrees? Where do you talk about the national interest waiver? Always put a table of contents because imagine that your USCIS officer is going through your case, but then they have to stop for the day and then go back to their families. When they come back the next day, they're not going to know where they stopped if you don't have table of contents and if you don't put page numbers on your documents, right? So always ensure that you present your document in a way that is easy to follow, all right? And I encourage people to use a table of contents to do that. The next thing I'm going to say is, are you qualified? What's the evidence that you're qualified? In the petition letter, you're going to be referencing a lot of evidence. So when you talk about the fact that you have an advanced degree, you're going to say, see Exhibit 1, all right? That Exhibit 1 should be a photocopy of your degree certificate, your diploma, whatever it is, all right? So make sure that you're putting appropriate evidence in your petition letter. If you don't put the evidence for something that you said in the letter, you're going to get an RFE. You're going to get a request for evidence. That's going to slow down your application process. And you really don't want that, all right? So make sure that when you talk about something in your petition letter, that you put it in there. Now, a rule of thumb is if you don't have evidence for it, don't put it in your letter. A lot of people do this where they say they did something, but then they have no evidence for it. Just leave it out of the application, all right? So if you don't have evidence for it, please, please, please leave it out of the application, all right? The third thing, which is a component of the petition letter, of course, is recommendation letters, right? So I have a video on recommendation letters. I'm going to put a link to that. Go and listen to that. It'll tell you who to ask, when to ask, things like that. Now, recommendation letters are so important because you're going to take quotations from those letters and you're going to put it in your petition letter as further evidence that you qualify for this category, all right? And so that's going to take up a huge part of your petition letters. So you really want to have strong recommendation letters so you can then take those quotations and place them in the right spots in your petition letter. Another part is that you want to have a strong argument, right? And you have to be qualified now. So let's just agree that this pathway for a green card is not going to be suitable for everyone. Not everyone is going to qualify for EB2NIW, and that's just the truth, all right? So let's be frank. That's why you need to have someone go through your credentials, kind of give you some advice, tell you maybe not now, maybe do a little bit more. Maybe you need to, go for this experience, or maybe you need to add this to your credentials or join this professional society, maybe you need to do XYZ, you need to have someone look through your credentials, all right? And that's one of the services that we currently offer, is that we can go through your credentials and we can kind of give you an idea of where you stand in this application process, all right? So if you're looking for those services, of course, we're going to put a link to that in the description portion of this video. In terms of your evidence, now one of the things that USCIS is telling us is that you shouldn't send in any original documents except they ask you to. Now, in this EB2NIW process, everything that I sent in only photocopies. So make sure you're sending in photocopies of your documents, no originals. Now, when it's time for the interview, you want to take the originals of those documents that you photocopied to the interview, right? Like your birth certificate, your diploma, things like that. But when you're sending in your documents to USCIS, you want to send in photocopies. If you have a document that's not in English, you want to have a certified English translation of that document, all right? And so you can get, there's so many services that offer that online, but you want to translate those documents to English and then send it to USCIS, all right? USCIS officers are going to want to read your documents in English. As you have your petition letter, you're going to have your evidence accompanying that. Make sure that you organize your evidence in a way that kind of flows with the flow of the letter. So if you're talking about Exhibit 1, put it at the first part after your petition letter, and so on. Organize your document in a way that it's easy to follow the trend of thought in your petition letter. If you don't have evidence for it, please don't bring it up in the petition letter, all right? I know some of you have done some really exciting things, wonderful things. You really want to talk about it, but you have no evidence for it. Please don't bring it up in the petition letter, because what's going to happen is USCIS officers are going to want to know more, and they're going to ask you for more information. If you don't have that information, then it's going to be a problem, all right? So let's avoid RFEs by not putting anything in the petition letter that we don't have evidence for. Questions that you want to ask yourself when you're writing your petition letter: is your document easy to read? A lot of people use a lot of acronyms. Remember that USCIS officers are not experts in your field, all right? They're not in your field. So you want to make it easy for them to follow what you're talking about. So I would minimize acronyms, or really industry specific words, like, explain things in a way that people who are not in your field would fully understand what you're talking about. You don't need to get too intense about, these acronyms or these words that are specific to your field. Still explain it in a way that an intelligent person will understand it, but don't get too carried away with acronyms or things that are like really industry specific, all right? Next question is, are your documents easy to find? So as you're writing your petition letter and you're referencing those documents behind the letter, make sure that those documents are properly tagged so that your USCIS officer going through your case is able to find those documents, all right? And then always put yourself in the shoes of whoever is reading your application, right? To ask yourself, if I had no idea what this was about and I just read this letter, will I be able to follow, or will it be easy for me to understand, right? If the answer is yes, then you've done a really good job of explaining. But if the answer is no, and you've further confused them, then it's going to be really difficult for anyone to give you an approval. Now, I've read petition letters. I've had the opportunity to review several petition letters, and I've really seen people who are really, really qualified, but when they explain how they're qualified, it just gets really tangled up in there with the way that the petition letter is written, right? So I want to help you to do that, right? So if you've written your petition letter, send it over to me. I can review that. I'll leave the link in the description to how you can schedule that appointment. Now, if you want me to write your petition letter, I'll also leave a link in the description portion where I can offer you those services as well. Now, if you like templates on how to write these letters, I also have all these services as well. All right, we really want to help you get approved for your EB2NIW application. And the best way to do that is, of course, to put in the best application or the best foot forward. And it's going to be up to USCIS officers to approve or deny, but you want to put in an application that is foolproof, at least the best of your knowledge, all right? You can also use tabs to number your evidence as well. That's a great way. I actually did that in my application. I'm going to put a picture somewhere here, but I'll show you how I organize my application. And it really, really helps, because then your USCIS officer is able to say, okay, she's referenced Exhibit 1, and they can see the tab linking Exhibit 1, right? So it's easy to follow through on your application. I always include a list of all the evidence submitted, right? It's also helpful for the USCIS officer to know what is in this packet, what evidence is included, and then it's easy for them to find whatever they're looking for. All right. The question a lot of people ask me is, how long should your letter be? Now, my letter was almost 40 pages long, but yours doesn't have to be 40 pages long. I've seen people get approved with 12 pages, 20 pages, 40 pages. It really is up to you and how much you have to talk about, right? So my letter was a little bit long because I had a lot of stuff to talk about. I had a lot of, experiences, awards, scholarships. I spent a lot of time talking about my publications and things like that. But yours doesn't have to be that long, all right? Don't go rambling about stuff just to add to the numbers. Be specific, go straight to the point, and you should get approved. So we're at the end of this episode. If you guys have questions about the petition letter, specifically the EB2NIW petition letters, go ahead and use the comment section to ask your questions, and I'll get back to you. If you guys would like to reach us, we have all that information in the description portion of this video. Remember to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.